I'm getting ready for the next cookout, and I want to try some beans this time. Beans and chicken. I mean, that's good cookout food. But since I've got my smoker going, I think I want to try to smoke these beans, and we'll go that way. It's gonna end up. I think it's gonna end up tasting pretty good. I mean, you can't really go wrong with beans. It's hard to mess up, and chicken is a classic. Now I'm gonna go and use the recipe by this guy, Smokin Grillin with AB. He's got a really good channel, does a lot of really good food. But I want to test out his beans recipe, and I'll see if I can find a link to the video and include it down in the description below. But let's go ahead and get the smoker fired up and try and see what we can do here. Slowly but surely, I'm getting the hang of starting the fire inside of the firebox here. Instead of starting the coals in a chimney and bringing them all over, I'm going ahead and pouring the coals inside of here and lighting it with my grill torch. And then, once I get a little bit of a flame going, or at least get the coals warm, start putting the wood in there. And as a matter of fact, it doesn't take too long for the wood to catch, and I think it's actually faster for me to start the fire inside of the firebox instead of bringing coals over and then getting everything going that way. It's probably about the same time, I don't know, but it feels a lot better trying to do it this way, and definitely I'm not having to carry coals around, so that that makes me feel pretty good too. But all we do is stack the wood up, get it going in there, maybe give it one last little puff here with the grill torch, and the flame is going pretty good. We're using basic chicken thighs today. Nothing too simple. Bone in, skin on chicken thighs you can buy at the grocery store. And we're gonna season this with Chud Rub. I'm sure many of you might be familiar with Chud's Barbecue, his channel, and I've got some Chud Rub that I've been using for a little bit here, and I find it's pretty good on chicken. It works out, the heavy pepper flavor from this sauce, or from this rub, works out really well with chicken. Once the pit's up to 300 degrees or somewhere thereabout, we'll go ahead and put the chicken on, and it looks like we're at 300 now, and it's a good temperature. I mean, you don't want to be too cool, like in the 200s, 275 or so, but 300 for smoking some chicken thighs, it'll work out really well. The skin's going to come out good, and the food's actually going to come out tasting pretty good as well. So just want to make sure, and here I'm trying to figure out, do I want to put it closer to the smokestack or closer to the fire? I'm putting it a little bit closer to the fire, and that might actually speed up the cook some. So I'll go ahead and place my chicken thighs, a little bit closer to the firebox. Still going to get plenty of smoke. Not worried about that. Really the concern is, hey, how quick is this going to cook? The next thing we're going to do here is cook our bacon. And we could do this inside, and that'll be great. It's fine to go ahead, and we've done this tons of times, just like you cook any other kind of bacon. But because I have the smoker going and I've got the plancha here, I can just go ahead and get my cast iron skillet and put it on top of the plancha, and we'll cook it just like we're inside. The fire is going below, so I've got plenty of heat there. So we'll just go ahead and cook this like I normally cook bacon. Now, I did cut the bacon strips into thirds so that it's a little bit smaller. So as we're cooking our bacon, one of the things we want to make sure that we do is when we pull it off, we want it to be a little bit softer. We don't want it to be more on the crispy side when we're cooking it right now, because it's actually going back in the smoker with the full bean dish. And if we make it hard now, it's going to be really crispy when it's done, and that's going to be a little weird texture when we're actually eating our beans later on. Our next step is just go ahead and get our ground beef. I've got a 3-pound roll of ground beef here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put that on, and we're going to brown this just like you'd brown any other time. Go ahead and cook this up, get it ready to go inside of our beans. Now, you don't have to add all of this meat. I'm doing this because I want it to be a little bit chunky. I like to have some meat that go along inside of my beans, but you don't have to do that. But the reason why we're doing this is because I just want to have some more hardiness to our smoked beans. Once that ground beef has been browned, we're going to go ahead and strain it and then set it aside. Maybe inside, I'm going to put inside my smoker just so that it can warm for a few moments while we get everything else ready to go. But we're nearly done here, so let's go ahead and get this strained. Next, we're going to grab the most versatile tool we'll ever use in our outside cooking, our aluminum pan. To that, we're going to add 2 cans of Bush's Original Baked Beans. Now, he's very specific about using the original baked beans. Now we're going to add our bacon and the ground beef that we just browned up and put that in there. Next up, we're going to add some brown sugar, a 1/4 cup. Then we want to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, or whatever you use to taste. We're also going to throw in a 1/4 cup of ketchup, and don't forget that mustard. Mustard's very important in these baked beans. Finally, or not finally, but we're going to add 1/2 red onion here as well. Now, just to sweeten it up just a touch, 2 tablespoons of molasses. One time I made this recipe with honey as well, and it worked out good, but you can go ahead and use some molasses if you have some of that around. Finally, we're just going to stir it all together. Get all of those pieces put together, make sure everything has a good blend. We're going to put this in the smoker later on, so it's all going to meld a little bit there as well. But right now, we just want to make sure that we get all of that, ketchup, mustard, molasses hitting every single corner of our aluminum pan before we put this inside the smoker for it to sit for a little bit. Onto the smoker the beans go. We're probably going to leave it on here for a couple hours or so. Our temperature is about, in the about 250 or so. I'm probably going to bump this up just a touch, just to kind of get the chamber warm again and whatnot. But regardless, we're just going ahead and smoke this in here for a couple of hours so that we get the good smoke flavor going. Every 30-45 minutes or so, I want to come in here, check on the beans, stir it. As I'm watching my chicken, I'll go ahead and stir this around too, just to kind of make sure the smoke is hitting every single bean, every single piece of meat and stuff in there, so those flavors are really spread throughout the dish, and not one of those situations where you just scoop in and the very top of it tastes smoky. But while I'm here, let me go ahead and check on my chicken. Oh, look at that. So the chicken closest to the fire is kind of in the 170s, kind of 160s in the middle row, and 150s back here. So as you can tell, the ones closest to the fire get cooked faster. It's not really a surprise. And the ones that are laying back a little bit are a little bit more in the middle temperature. Today I want to try out this new sauce I have, this Kakalaki Cheerwine sweet sauce. I'm not going to put it on everything because I don't know how it's going to taste, and I do want people to eat it. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and put my Sweet Baby Ray's on most of these. Everybody likes Sweet Baby Ray's in my house, and so if I want people to eat, you cook what they want to eat. But then I'm going to test out this Kakalaki Cheerwine sauce on the last couple. Now, I did try this out subsequently on some chicken for a cookout, and let me tell you what, this turned out so nice. The flavor is excellent. The color comes on nice, and as you can see here, it's a thinner sauce. So it's not like, if Sweet Baby Ray's, that's a thick sauce. This is more thin and loose, and so you got to be a little bit careful. Just as when we're normally saucing stuff, we'll let this sit on here for probably about 10-15 minutes, just so that the sauce can set and not be too loose when we pick it up. But just a nice firm bite of barbecue sauce that doesn't slide off your fork when you eat it. But we'll go ahead and do that and take a look at our beans, and we'll pull all this stuff off together. My plate of barbecue chicken and beans. This is a starter plate. I mean, we're missing probably some potato salad, some coleslaw, some mac and cheese, but this is a good start. So if you bring this to the barbecue, people will be able to fill around this, and you'll be all right. Well, you made it to the end. You might make it to the end of another one of my videos. Why don't you check one of those out below? Take it easy.